With only 3 weeks left until the first batch of orders go up for sale, Valve has clearly been working hard to put the finishing touches on the Steam Deck and all the respective software. They've sent out review units, published a bunch of deck verified results, and Valve has updated their own games. Not to mention a Discord member shared some Steam Deck footage that I'm not going to show you. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. The first thing we should talk about are review units. A couple of weeks ago, Valve stated that they'll be sending out review units soon, and sure enough, we saw a few people that got review units in the last week. Linus posted a photo teasing his and then a short. We all saw that one coming. More importantly, the Fox released a video showcasing not just one, but 2 review units he received from Valve. I've said this a few times now, but there's no single person I wanted to see with a review unit more than the Fox, so that is great news. Gamers Nexus has also received a Steam Deck. In their video, they point out that only a couple of outlets have one so far, and the Fox confirms that he only knows of the 3 I've mentioned here. Now, this is really cool because LTT, Gamers Nexus, and the Fox are all really technical channels. These are 3 groups of guys that are going to open this thing up as soon as they are allowed to. In any case, neither of them said much so far, but they did a ton of teasing. And as such, it appears the big date for some preview content is Monday, February 7th. That's right, we are just a single weekend away from new Steam Deck videos and coverage. And I'm just like y'all, I can't wait to watch it all. Perhaps not so coincidentally, Dbrand is revealing their Steam Deck project on this same day. Based on their teases so far, all signs point to this being some sort of replacement shell for the deck. So call in sick and clear your Monday because we should get some really solid previews. And I don't know if this counts as review units, but I've already reported on Markman testing the Steam Deck for viability with competitive fighting games. Watch my video on that if you haven't already. Similarly, JibSmart also received a Steam Deck. JibSmart is the creator of Flickstick, a method for accurately aiming with a control pad using the analog stick and gyro. He also created Joyshock Mapper to implement Flickstick. Valve has since added a version of Flickstick in Steam Input, but it's still not quite as good as Jib's own implementation. I look forward to seeing what comes of this. Will he help Valve implement a better revision? Will he and his collaborators put more effort towards Joyshock Mapper on Linux? For what it's worth, I haven't tested JSM on Linux and it should work, but the README says that it targets Windows first and that the latest Linux release may not always build. So perhaps this will be reason to show more love to the Linux build. On the other hand, the folks over at LibRetro, the makers of RetroArch, have stated that their dev kit requests have not yet been approved. That's a tad bit surprising, but also the Fox chimes in just below that. He doesn't say anything in particular, but I'm sure this is but one of the many things that he will be testing at some point. Also at some point, you should consider hitting the like button. If you're as excited about the Steam Deck as I am, be sure to click subscribe and slap the bell. Next up, let's talk Deck Verified. There has been a ton of movement on this since my last update. I'm writing this Thursday evening, so there's likely to be some update again by the time this video goes live, but as of writing, we're up to 275 games evaluated. Let's take a brief look at the new games in each category. First up, let's go to Verified. We have 82 new Verified games, bringing the grand total up to 124. I've broken this up into 2 photo montages. Here's the first one with 41 games. There's a wide variety of titles here. We have strong AAA releases like Hellblade, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Hitman, and Deathloop. There's also Bayonetta, which is more of an older AAA game, but a classic nonetheless. We have lots of indie darlings here like Baba Is You, Boomerang X, Fell Seal, Firewatch, and a recent Death Trash and Grime. Lots of great games in this batch. On the next page, there are a handful of older AAA titles like The Evil Within, Metal Gear Rising, another classic by the way, and Life is Strange 2. Then there are indie bangers like Stardew Valley, Spelunky 2, and Return of the Obra Dinn. Notably, this batch contains the only DLC to be reviewed for compatibility so far, Life is Strange 2, Episode 2. Next up are playable games. It's disappointing that some of these aren't verified, stuff like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Bully, Darkest Dungeon, Deep Rock Galactic, Devil May Cry 4, and Dark Souls Remastered. Not to mention the venerable Garfield cart. However, don't let that dissuade you from trying these games out. Many of them are missing small niceties like automatically prompting a virtual keyboard, or they have a launcher that you have to get around. But for the most part, I imagine they're going to be a very enjoyable experience for most people. Finally, we have the unsupported games. There are 35 new ones. Of course, a lot of these are very disappointing. Games like For Honor, Gears 5, Fall Guys, Due Process, and Dragon Ball FighterZ. A few of these are not just disappointing, but a little surprising, particularly Halo Master Chief Collection and Lara Croft Temple of Osiris. To be fair, the fact that I was blindsided by these is my own fault. I never looked closely enough at the ProtonDB ratings for these. They're both gold, but Halo Master Chief Collection only works in single player. For online play, they use Easy Anti-Cheat and haven't enabled that for Proton. For Lara Croft, there is a known issue with compatibility for some builds that I suppose must affect the Steam Deck too. In any case, it looks like the deck is going to launch without these games being compatible, mostly due to anti-cheat. Now, Valve did a lot of wheeling and dealing here to try to make it as easy as possible for developers to enable their anti-cheat on Proton. First, they worked with EAC and BattlEye to even have the option at all. Then they worked with EAC and BattlEye to make it so that the developer didn't have to do anything but contact them to make it work. And still, these developers have chosen not to do it. As a reminder, these developers don't owe us or Valve anything here. They're well within their right to decide not to support this. Hopefully, they change their minds. Now, there are some games that would currently be supported, but are missing from this list. In particular, I want to call out Apex Legends, Star Wars Squadrons, and Destiny 2. I also want to point out that Valve said they will be submitting test data for anti-cheat titles on January 24th. In their developer documentation, they also say that developers have 1 week to take action on these results before they get published to the public. It's possible that games missing from this list have decided to submit a new build before the test results get published. In fact, we have some evidence of that. For Apex Legends, some data miners have noticed that there is some activity in the anti-cheat files of the game. In the case of Squadrons, we actually have some more concrete details. You can see in SteamDB that they have branches for getting this game to work on the Steam Deck. So Squadrons is definitely coming, and Apex Legends is maybe coming. Still no news on Destiny 2, but the fact that it's absent from this list kinda gives me hope. And I have one more bit of concerning news when it comes to Easy Anti-Cheat. Elden Ring is confirmed to be using EAC. Hard to say whether or not this is cause for alarm yet. As of late, we have 2 examples of AAA teams working with Valve to get their game launched in a Proton-ready state, namely Monster Hunter Rise and God of War. Perhaps Elden Ring will join this roster and be ready at launch as well. In addition to review units and the deck verified results, there is some news about Steam Deck features. First, Valve is improving the cloud save functionality with a feature they're calling Dynamic Cloud Sync. Currently, your save only gets written to the cloud when you close the game. However, this feature would make it so that your save gets written to the cloud whenever the game is playing on the deck and the deck gets suspended. Subsequently, the latest save data will be downloaded to the deck when it wakes back up. This is absolutely necessary for a portable gaming machine. Speaking of suspend, we got to see it in action thanks to this footage of Nico Ghost Jump from a developer. Looking good. Another big feature is the fact that FSR has been merged into the main branch of GameScope. So that means that FSR for any game can be just a few button presses away on any Steam Deck. Similarly, in his video, The Fox said that there is a TDP control just a few button presses away. If you press the bottom right button, now known as the QAM or Quick Access Menu, there is a way to set the TDP from here. Now, here's the thing. My guy Mosquito has shared some footage with me of the QAM that I did consider sharing here today. However, I think this is going to be part of what we're going to see on February 7th, and that's just a few days away. So rather than spoil it, I decided on shelving it so we can all see it together after the weekend. And that's where I'm going to leave it, guys. I hope you're ready because I think Monday is going to be huge. I can't wait to see what these guys all have in store. And if you want to see my reaction as soon as possible, be sure to check out the Fan the Deck Discord or follow me on Twitter. Links are in the description. Alright y'all, until next time, Deck Gang out. Goodbye!